Once again, my girlfriend was throwing a tantrum because of a gift from one of her suitors. Caleb, what do you have besides that pretty face? You can't even afford a decent handbag. Her harshness and arrogance finally extinguished the last flicker of my affection. Then let's break up. I walked away with absolute resolve. She yelled at my back, "Don't you dare. If you leave now, don't come back." I didn't turn around. I hadn't expected to run into her mother at the campus gates, who had come to drop something off for her. Upon hearing we had broken up, she sighed and tried to persuade me. "Caleb, Tiffany is just spoiled, but she has you in her heart." She spent an hour earnestly trying to talk me out of it, but the more she spoke, the more the tone shifted. Finally, she ushered me into her car and drove me to her place. "Forget it. I won't convince you otherwise. My daughter really doesn't deserve you. How about I try?" Valentine's Day. The air was thick with a sickly sweet romance. I stood downstairs at Tiffany Vance's sorority house, clutching a sophisticated square box, my heart running a little hot with anticipation. Inside the box was a smart haptic relief node that my friends at the engineering studio and I had spent several all-nighters prototyping by hand. It wasn't just a gift. It was a solution to all her complaints and discomforts, a labor of love I'd poured my soul into. I had even found a factory to custom fabricate the casing. Now, it was both sleek and practical. Maybe it was a bit of a guy gift, but I thought it was thoughtful. She finally came down, wearing the new dress I bought her, her makeup flawless. But when she saw the box in my hand, her brow furrowed almost imperceptibly. "Caleb, is this another one of your little handmade gadgets?" Her tone carried an impatience I knew all too well. I suppressed the discomfort in my chest and handed it over with a smile. "Open it. I made it specifically for you." She took it reluctantly. Just as she was about to unwrap it, her phone pinged. She swiped the screen, and the corners of her mouth instantly lifted, the first smile I'd seen on her face all day. She flashed the screen at me. It was a message from Brad Sterling, the rich trust fund kid. "Tiff, did you get the limited edition bag I had someone flying from Paris? Happy Valentine's Day." My chest tightened. Tiffany glanced at the box in my hand, then back at Brad's message. The smile vanished, replaced by undisguised disdain. She tossed my carefully wrapped gift onto a nearby bench with a dull thud. "Caleb, look at Brad, and then look at yourself." She sneered, her voice not loud, but cutting through my eardrums like a knife. "Can I even take this thing out in public? It lowers my status." Students passing by cast curious glances our way, and my face burned instantly. I tried to explain, "Tiff, this isn't just some ordinary thing, it can." "What's the use of it being useful?" she shrilled, cutting me off like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. "I want status. I want people to look at me with envy. Do you get it?" She pointed a finger at my nose, emphasizing every word. "Caleb Miller, what do you have besides that face? You can't even afford a decent handbag." That sentence was like a basin of ice water, extinguishing the last spark in my heart from head to toe. I thought of the countless days and nights I scrimped and saved, working multiple jobs for her image. I thought of the countless arguments where she humiliated me in front of my friends over trivial matters. Every time, she compared me to Brad, using someone else's generosity to belittle my devotion. I looked at her beautiful face, twisted with anger, and suddenly felt incredibly estranged and exhausted. Those moments that once made my heart flutter had turned into an ironic joke. All the love was executed by 1,000 cuts in that instant, turning to ash. I took a deep breath, using all my strength to keep my voice steady. "Then let's break up." Tiffany froze, as if she hadn't heard clearly. Immediately, a look of humiliation and rage surfaced on her face. She probably thought I was using a breakup to threaten her, just like she had done countless times before. "Don't you dare." She raised her volume, certain I was just throwing a fit, certain I couldn't leave her. "Caleb, if you dare walk away today, don't ever come back." I didn't give her another look. I turned and walked away. Behind me were her shocked and angry shouts, but I didn't stop for a single step. This time, I really wasn't looking back. Walking out of the campus gates, the pain of the breakup and the long-standing grievances surged up together. The more I thought, the angrier I got, feeling like my efforts over the past few years were a joke. I walked aimlessly down the street, trying to walk off the knot in my heart. The sky turned gloomy without notice, and bean-sized raindrops smashed down. Within seconds, I was soaked like a drowned rat, looking utterly pathetic. The freezing rain clung to my skin, and my heart chilled along with it. Just as I was about to find shelter, an elegant black sedan slowly pulled up beside me. The window rolled down, revealing a face of peerless beauty and gentle temperament. It was Tiffany's mother, Elena Vance. Time seemed exceptionally lenient with her, leaving only the charm of maturity without a trace of age. Caleb. She recognized me, surprised her tone. She opened an umbrella, stepped out of the car quickly, and tilted most of the umbrella over my head. A pleasant, elegant fragrance mixed with the freshness of the rain drilled into my nose. How did you get soaked like this? Where's Tiffany? She asked softly, her voice like warm jade. I lower my head, my voice a bit hoarse. Elena. We broke up. Elena's hand holding the umbrella paused, followed by a soft sigh. Oh, that child. The rain fell harder. She pulled me under the awning of a roadside cafe. Caleb, Tiffany is just spoiled. She's never suffered a day in her life, but she definitely has you in her heart. She began to persuade me earnestly, her voice gentle and logical. I stood there, listening to the rain beat against the umbrella, my heart numb. Seeing no reaction from me, she said, It's too cold out here. Let's go inside. I'll treat you to a hot coffee. In a warm cafe, we sat opposite each other. She didn't blindly speak well of Tiffany anymore. Instead, she began to chat with me about other things. From a major I was studying to my future plans. From recently released movies to classic poetry. For a full hour, every sentence she spoke soothed my wounded heart perfectly. I was enveloped by an unprecedented feeling of being deeply understood. But the more I listened, the stranger it felt. She didn't seem to be convincing me to get back together. It felt more like she was quietly analyzing me, understanding me. The rain outside showed no sign of stopping. Elena looked out the window, then said to me, The rain is too heavy. You'll definitely catch a cold going back to the dorms like this. And since you just went through a breakup, I don't feel right leaving you alone. Her tone was indisputable, carrying a gentle dominance. Come on, come home with me first. Change into dry clothes, eat something, and then we'll see. Before I could refuse, she had already stood up, grabbed the umbrella, and naturally took hold of my wrist. Her car was parked right out front. She pulled me into the passenger seat and buckled my seatbelt, the movements fluid and practiced. The car drove smoothly into the curtain of rain. I watched the streetscape receding rapidly outside the window, my mind in chaos. The car finally stopped beneath an elegant apartment building. At her door, she took out the key. Then she turned to look at me, the outdoor lights outlining her perfect profile. Her eyes seemed a bit scorching in the dim light, as if a storm was brewing. She suddenly smiled, a smile containing a hint of slyness and decision. Forget it. I won't advise you anymore. I was stunned. She took a step forward, getting extremely close to me, her warm breath dusting my face. Tiffany really doesn't deserve you. How about I try? Her words exploded in my brain. I froze in place, my mind blank, staring at her foolishly. Seeing my dazed look, she let out a chuckle, breaking the solidified air. Why are you standing there like a dummy? Come in quickly, it's cold outside. She pushed me through the door, closing it behind her, shutting out the wind, rain, and my chaotic thoughts. Her home was exactly as I imagined, clean, warm, and filled with the same elegant fragrance she wore. Go take a hot shower, don't get sick. She took a pair of brand-new men's slippers from the cabinet in the entryway and placed them at my feet. Then, she went into her room and quickly brought out a neatly folded set of men's pajamas and a new towel. I was a bit at a loss. Oh, I prepared these after you came over before. She stuffed the items into my arms, her tone natural. Last time Tiffany brought you home for dinner, I thought a boy should always have a change of clothes here, so I prepared a set in advance. Go on, the bathroom is over there. Holding the pajamas that turned out to fit perfectly, I had mixed feelings. She had prepared for my arrival so long ago. I thought to myself, older women really are attentive and considerate. The hot water poured down from overhead, driving away the chill on my body, but unable to wash away the heat rising in my heart. When I came out after my shower, I saw her busy in the kitchen. She was wearing a plain apron, her long hair loosely pinned up with a clasp, revealing a section of pale, graceful neck. Hearing the movement, she looked back and smiled at me. Drink a bowl of ginger soup to warm your stomach first. Dinner will be ready soon. I sat at the dining table with the ginger soup, watching her skillfully bring out dish after dish. A full spread, protein, vegetables, and a warm soup, perfect in color, smell, and taste. I picked up my fork and took a bite of the spicy arrabbiata pasta she had prepared. The spicy, savory flavor exploded on the tip of my tongue. It was exactly my favorite taste. I paused, then tasted the other dishes. The sweet and sour balance of the glazed pork, the texture of the sautéed vegetables, even the salt level in the soup perfectly matched my preferences. These were preferences I had only mentioned once or twice in passing while complaining about the cafeteria food during phone calls with Tiffany. She had remembered them all. Why aren't you eating? Is it not to your liking? Elena sat down opposite me, asking with concern. I shook my head and whispered, no, it's delicious. Then eat more. She smiled gently, serving me a piece of fish with the serving fork. Don't be formal. Treat this like your own home. You mentioned before that you like spicy food, so I specially added extra chili peppers. I didn't know if you'd be used to it. Someone I wasn't even that close with remembered words I'd said casually. Meanwhile, Tiffany couldn't even remember that I hated cilantro. I ate this meal with 100 mixed feelings. After dinner, I offered to wash the dishes, but she stopped me. You're a guest. There's no logic in letting a guest wash dishes. She pressed me down onto the sofa. Watch some TV for a bit. I'll be done soon. I sat awkwardly on the soft sofa, watching some boring variety show on TV. My ears were involuntarily tuned to the sound of water coming from the kitchen. Soon, she finished washing up and walked over with a plate of cut fruit, sitting down beside me. The moisture from her hair and that pleasant scent lingered around my nose again, causing my heart to skip a beat. By the way, she said, handing me a slice of apple. That gift you gave Tiffany earlier, it sounded interesting. Can you tell me more about it? I didn't expect her to bring that up. I started telling her about my original intention in designing that version of the relief note. I talked about the technical difficulties our studio encountered and how we overcame them bit by bit. I spoke with engagement, and she listened very seriously. Her eyes sparkled with appreciation and approval, without a shred of impatience. When I finished, she sighed sincerely. You really are talented, Caleb. Tiffany has no eye for quality. She doesn't know how to cherish things. That sentence easily healed the last scar in my heart. The atmosphere unknowingly became ambiguous. I was too nervous to move, so I could only bury my head and eat the fruit. Watching me wolf it down, she suddenly leaned in. Her warm fingertips gently brushed past the corner of my mouth, bringing a tingling shiver. Eat slowly, you got some on your face. Her voice was pitched low, sweeping across the tip of my heart like a feather. Tiffany, you two are just children. What's all this talk about money? I felt my face instantly turn red to the ears, my heart pounding as if it were about to jump out of my throat. I stood up abruptly, sounding like I was fleeing a crime scene. Elena, it's getting late. I'll go to sleep now. I almost rushed into the guest room, closed the door, and leaned back against the panel, gasping for air. That night, I had complete insomnia. My mind replayed Elena's gentle smile and that earth-shattering sentence. How about I try? Over and over again. I discovered that I didn't seem to resist it. In fact, there was a secret excitement. Because I was part of the university studio and often skipped classes to work in the lab, I almost always had leave slips available. For the next 2 days, I was arranged by Elena to recover at her house. She didn't mention anything crossing the line again, but with meticulous care, she firmly trapped me in her gentleness. Until Monday, when I had to return to school for class. She drove me to the campus gate and handed me a thermal lunchbox. Eat this when you're hungry. Don't eat at the cafeteria at noon. I made you food. Remember to eat on time. Noon, at the cafeteria, I had just found a corner to sit down, ready to open my meal. A sarcastic voice sounded right above my head. Yo, isn't this Caleb? Why are you eating alone? Heard you got dumped by our dear Tiff. It was Brad Sterling. He sat down opposite me with his entourage, swaggering, a look of undisguised mockery on his face. The cafeteria was bustling with people coming and going. His voice wasn't loud, but was enough for the surrounding tables to hear. Instantly, countless gazes of sympathy, curiosity, and schadenfreude focused on me. I couldn't be bothered with him, picking up my food to move elsewhere. Don't go. Brad reached out to block me. Let's chat. It makes sense, though. A broke student, tinkering with those worthless junk gadgets every day. How could you deserve Tiffany? If I were Tiff, I'd choose me too, ha ha ha. His followers roared with laughter. My fist clenched under the table, nails digging deep into my palm. Just as I was about to explode, a crisp female voice suddenly rang out. Brad, shut your mouth. It was Tiffany. She had walked over at some point and was glaring angrily at Brad. My business with him is none of your concern. I was a little surprised. I hadn't expected her to stand up for me. Brad was stunned for a moment too, then smiled even more happily. What? Tiffany, are you still protecting him? Do you regret it and want to get back together? Too bad, the guy has a sponsor now. Lots of people saw him getting out of Sugar Mama's car. Tiffany was speechless for a moment, her face full of complex expressions, anger, unwillingness. Suddenly, there was a small commotion at the cafeteria entrance. I subconsciously looked up and froze. Elena Vance was walking in. She wore a tailored, creamy white business suit, her long hair pinned up, looking capable and elegant. As soon as she appeared, she attracted everyone's attention. the noisy cafeteria seemed to quiet down a few decibels. She ignored all the stares and walked straight to me. Under the stunned gaze of everyone, she reached out, took a handkerchief, and gently wiped the corner of my mouth. The movement was intimate and natural, as if she had done it 1,000 times. Didn't I tell you to eat at my place? Why did you run off to the cafeteria alone again? Be good. The cafeteria food has no nutrition. Let's go home and eat. My brain buzzed. Just a moment ago, I really hadn't wanted to go to her house, feeling it was too much trouble. Now, I wished I could grow wings and fly out of this disaster zone with her immediately. Tiffany and Brad's expressions could no longer be described as shocked. They were catatonic, petrified. Their mouths were open wide enough to fit an egg, their eyes written with "How is this possible?" Under the incredible gaze of the entire faculty and student body, Elena naturally took my hand and pulled me up from my seat. Her hand was warm and strong. She pulled me, ignoring everyone, through the crowd and out of that massive arena of judgment. Behind us was a deathly silence, and Tiffany's face, pale as paper. Sitting in Elena's elegant car, my heart was still pounding wildly. That scene just now was more thrilling than any movie I had ever seen. She glanced at me sideways, a barely there smile playing on her lips. Scared, I shook my head, my chest filled with an unprecedented peace of mind and an indescribable sense of vindication. I don't like seeing people bully you. Not even Tiffany, she said lightly as she started the car. Her tone was calm, but the partiality and defense within it were blatant and undisguised. My heart felt wrapped in warm water, heated to a simmer. The car drove smoothly down the road. I looked at her focused profile as she drove, and, as if possessed, I reached out for the first time and held her hand resting on her leg. Her hand paused slightly. Then she held mine back, gently rubbing the back of my hand with her thumb. That subtle touch shot through my whole body like an electric current. Thank you. My voice was a little dry. She chuckled softly. Silly boy. No need to be polite with me. Back at her home, she seemed to have completely forgotten the episode in the cafeteria. She didn't ask about my grudge with Brad, nor did she mention Tiffany. She simply took off her heels, changed into loungewear, and started chatting with me about the future development of my studio. She listened seriously to my vision, then analyzed the market prospects for me with the eye of a seasoned investor. She pointed out the flaws in my plan and even offered to introduce me to some industry resources. Her total support for my career and future was a world away from Tiffany's constant suppression and disdain. One trampled me underfoot, saying I was good for nothing. The other saw the shining points in me that everyone else ignored and was willing to add bricks and tiles to my dream. Watching her focused profile as she analyzed problems for me, the last bit of nostalgia for the past in my heart completely vanished. That evening, after dinner, she prepared to go back to her room to rest as usual. I summoned the greatest courage of my life. The moment she turned around, I grabbed her wrist from behind. She looked back, looking at me with some surprise. I didn't speak. I just buried my face in the crook of her neck. Her hair smelled of the same shampoo I used, mixed with her unique body scent, making me feel instantly at ease. I muffled my voice and said, Elena, I want to try. I could feel her body stiffen for an instant, afraid she would regret it. I quickly added a sentence, my voice carrying a trace of grievance and dependence I hadn't even noticed myself. Mostly because you know how to care for people too well, you're too charming. I can't outplay you. I think I'm ready to be a kept man. She was silent for a moment. Just as I thought I had misread the situation and was preparing to let go awkwardly, she turned around and cupped my face with both hands. Her eyes were deep, like they held a sea of stars. Then she stood slightly on tiptoe and imprinted a gentle, lingering kiss on my lips. Unlike the tentative interaction at the door that day, this was a kiss carrying affirmation and acceptance. My mind went blank, and I could only respond to her by instinct. It was a long time before she pulled away slightly, her forehead resting against mine, her breathing a little ragged. Okay, she whispered in my ear, her warm breath turning my ears completely red. You could try it out. See if my version of being a kept man suits your appetite. Her voice carried a hint of triumphant laughter. But let's be clear, you have to stay with me. Unless you devour me completely inside and out, leaving nothing behind. Only then can you kick me aside. Since the high-profile official announcement in the cafeteria that day, Tiffany had gone completely mad. Back in her dorm, the image of Elena holding my hand and leaving replayed in her mind over and over. For the first time, she felt panic. The panic of having her most precious toy snatched away by the person she trusted most. A voice in her heart was screaming frantically, "My boyfriend is going to become my stepdad. No, this is absolutely impossible." She couldn't figure it out. In the past, every time they fought, as long as she cried or made a scene, I would immediately turn back to coax her. Why was it different this time? How could I turn around and hook up with her mother? She grabbed her hair in frustration. A message from Brad popped up, asking her out to dinner to celebrate tonight. Celebrate what? That I was dumped. She rejected him without thinking, then blocked Brad on social media. Only at this moment did she sluggishly realize that she had never really taken Brad's attentiveness and showing off to heart. She had always known that the designer bags Brad sent were far less genuine than every little thing I made for her by hand. It was just that Brad's gifts were expensive. She had refused at first, but Brad always found a way, either forcefully shoving it on her or having her roommates pass it along, secretly hiding it in her closet. Over time, she accepted it by default. With more gifts placed alongside mine, a sharp contrast formed. Coupled with her roommates intentionally or unintentionally praising Brad's generosity and belittling my frugality, her mindset slowly became unbalanced. She felt the gifts I gave, aside from being practical, were simply unpresentable. Now she realized with hindsight that she was the one who had changed. As if possessed, she dug out the massager I had given her, the one she had despised, from a corner. She plugged it in and pressed it to her lower abdomen. The warm sensation and perfect pressure instantly enveloped her, soothing the faint pain from her period. She suddenly remembered what I said when I gave it to her. This way, when that time comes, it won't be so hard on you. Tears fell without warning. She finally understood what kind of treasure she had thrown away with her own hands. Her roommate's gossip made her feel like she was sitting on pins and needles. Did you hear? Tiffany really messed up this time. Totally. Caleb's new girlfriend has such a strong aura. She looks beautiful and rich. She was unwilling to accept it. She firmly believed I was just acting out of spite, bewitched by her mother's money and the charm of a mature woman. She firmly believed the person I loved most was still her. She began frantically sending me messages and calling me. From questioning at the start, to apologizing later, to finally begging and crying. "Caleb, I was wrong. Let's get back together. I know I was wrong. Please don't be with my mom, okay? I beg you. Say something. Do you really not want me anymore?" But all the messages were like stones sinking into the ocean. There was no response. With nowhere else to go, she thought of her only and final reliance. Her mother, Elena Vance. She felt that as long as her mom stepped in, using both soft and hard tactics, she could definitely make me change my mind and return me to her. She naively thought Elena was still the almighty mom who would solve all her troubles. She had no idea that the person she was preparing to beg was precisely her biggest trouble right now. On the weekend, Tiffany, crying and clutching her key, arrived at Elena's door. She had already scripted the scene, prepared to stage a tragic drama of daughter tearfully begging mother for fulfillment. She wanted to tell her mom she couldn't live without me, that we were just kids having a tantrum, and her mom shouldn't take it seriously. She took a deep breath and opened the door with the key. The laughter coming from the living room caused all her prepared lines to get stuck in her throat. She saw a scene that made her eyes crack with rage. I was wearing comfortable gray loungewear, hugging Elena, who was wearing an apron, intimately from behind. My chin rested on Elena's shoulder, my hands over hers, teaching her how to operate a game controller. On the TV screen was a racing game. Our laughter mixed with the game sound effects, appearing incredibly warm and harmonious. That image stung her eyes. "Caleb, Mom, what are you doing?" Tiffany's scream was like a thunderclap, instantly shattering the warm atmosphere in the room. Both Elena and I were startled and looked toward the door. Tiffany's eyes were bloodshot, like an enraged lioness, staring dead at us. Elena's reaction was surprisingly fast. She showed no panic at all, simply putting down the game controller calmly and turning around. She casually pulled me to her side, standing shoulder to shoulder with me. She looked at Tiffany at the door, her tone flat, but carrying an unquestionable authority. "Tiffany, speak politely, and I recall telling you to knock before entering from now on." Tiffany's rationality had snapped the moment she saw our intimate posture. "Mom, are you crazy? He's my boyfriend. How can you steal your own daughter's boyfriend?" she screamed, tears falling like large beads. Elena's expression didn't ripple in the slightest. She took my hand, interlacing her fingers with mine, and then corrected her clearly, word by word. 1. Tiffany, please remember he is my boyfriend now. 2. We decided to be together after you broke up. I am very serious. Elena's words, every single one, were like hammers smashing heavily onto Tiffany's heart. I looked at Tiffany's completely out-of-control face, written with disbelief, and felt not a shred of pity in my heart. I coldly delivered the final blow. Tiffany, you were the one who didn't want me. I paused, feeling the warmth and strength coming from Elena's hand, and continued. And, to be honest, being with you is really exhausting. But being with Elena, I am comfortable. I saw the corner of Elena's mouth tick up slightly, so I added, no, that's not right. I'm at peace. Comfortable is for the body. Peace is for the soul. Tiffany's face turned pale in an instant. She looked at our tightly clasped hands, at the calm expression on Elena's face, at the indifference in my eyes. The last pillar of her world collapsed with a bang. I don't believe it. I absolutely don't believe it. Tiffany's emotions completely exploded. She screamed at us like a madwoman. Mom, you must have been scammed by him. He's just a poor kid. He has nothing. He's just after your money. She began to speak without thinking, using the most vicious language to attack me, as if this would prove her choice was correct. Elena's face instantly went cold. Enough. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried a menacing chill, bringing Tiffany's shouting to an abrupt halt. Tiffany, I made the first move. Elena took a step forward, blocking me slightly behind her, that protective stance warming my heart even more. Just because you didn't see Caleb's worth doesn't mean others can't. You have no right to judge him like that. Seeing that attacking Elena didn't work, Tiffany turned her spearhead back to me. Caleb Miller, you ungrateful wolf. My mom raised me. How can you be with my mom? How can you face me? Have you lost your damn mind? Do you have no conscience at all? Her words were acrid and mean, every word dripping with venom. I let out a cold laugh, finally tearing away the last shred of courtesy. Face you. I stepped out from behind Elena, looking straight into her eyes. From the first time you threw my feelings on the ground to compare them with someone else's designer bag, we were even. Every time you humiliated me in front of outsiders for your ridiculous vanity, we were even. When you threw tantrums constantly, demanding I coax you regardless of the setting, trampling my dignity underfoot, we were even. With every sentence I spoke, Tiffany's face went a shade whiter. Tiffany, what you want, I can't afford to give. What you look down on, someone else cherishes now. The days of being with you, I've truly had enough. My words were like sharp knives, stripping away her last disguise and pride until she was clean. She finally couldn't hold on, collapsing onto the cold floor, crying. She started rolling around and throwing a tantrum like a child acting out because she didn't get candy. I don't care. I don't care. You have to break up. If you don't break up today, I'll die right here. This was her usual tactic against me, tried and true. As long as she cried and made a scene, I would soften, I would compromise. However, this time her opponent was Elena. Elena just watched her perform on the floor calmly, then leisurely took her phone out of her bag. She flashed the screen in front of me. It was the dialing interface. Do you need me to call an ambulance for you? Or should I call the police directly and report someone for trespassing and disturbing the peace? Tiffany's crying and movements seemed to hit a pause button, choking instantly. She stared dumbfounded at Elena, as if knowing this mother for the first time. She finally understood. Her usual princess tantrums, which were always successful, were completely useless in this house, in front of this calm, powerful, even somewhat ruthless woman. After chasing Tiffany away, the house finally returned to tranquility. The air still held a trace of gunpowder. Elena closed the door, leaned against the panel, and let out a long sigh of relief. Then, she turned her head to look at me. A mischievous smile appeared on her face as the tip of her tongue gently licked her lips. Calling me auntie after agreeing to be mine? Her voice carried a trace of lazy huskiness that made my ears burn. I am unhappy. No dinner for you today. I'll let you starve, let you be not at peace. Watching her pretend to be angry, my heart warmed. I stepped forward and pulled her into my arms. Elena. I lowered my head and kissed her lips. From that day on, we started a sweet, semi-cohabitation life. I moved some daily necessities and textbooks to her house. She cleared out an entire bookshelf for me. She would wake up early to prepare a balanced breakfast and a glass of warm milk for me. And I took over the dishwashing after dinner and all the housework. We were like any ordinary couple. On weekend afternoons, we nestled in the sofa watching old movies together. After dinner, we walked hand in hand in the park near home, chatting about harmless trifles. I took her to my studio, the place Tiffany had called a gathering place for junk. I showed her every design of mine, every blueprint, including that massager her daughter had scoffed at. She listened more seriously than anyone, her eyes full of undisguised admiration and appreciation. Caleb, you are a genius. She stroked the smooth casing of the device, speaking from the heart. This project has great potential. You just lack commercial packaging and promotion channels. Then, with the eye of a professional investor, she offered many valuable commercial suggestions for my project. Her clear logic and unique insights added a deep respect to my admiration for her. Our relationship became increasingly solid in such sweet and plain daily life. But Tiffany didn't stop there. She posted a thread on the school forum using an anonymous account. The title was, "Exposed. Campus hunk sells out to Sugar Mama. Dumps GF to date her MOM." In the post, she embellished the story, painting herself as a victim ruthlessly abandoned. She portrayed me as a gigolo with no moral bottom line who only saw money. She even insinuated that Elena was a disrespectful cougar using money to seduce young boys. Because the post involved campus hunk, Sugar Mama, and other explosive elements, it instantly blew up the school. Walking on campus, I began to suffer endless pointing and staring. Even acquaintances ran up to my face to ask if the rumors in the post were true. I wanted to find the forum admin to delete the post or post a clarification myself. But Elena found out before I did. I thought she would be angry, that she would feel I brought her trouble. But she didn't. She just looked at me calmly and said, "Caleb, our relationship is open and above board. There's no need to hide." She held my hand, her eyes firm. The innocent remain innocent. The truth should be known to everyone. Encouraged by her, I used my real name account to tell my side of the story directly in the comment section of that post. I didn't attack Tiffany. I simply stated the real reasons for our breakup calmly. I listed every gift I gave her and every gift she received from Brad. I wrote out the facts about me, making the massager for her scoffing at it, and turning around to show off someone else's designer bag. I also posted several photos of handmade gifts I had given her in the past that she had broken or discarded. My response immediately caused a huge reaction. Many girls and almost all the guys started to stand on my side, sympathizing with my experience and criticizing Tiffany's vanity and lack of appreciation. And from that day on, Elena appeared at our school more frequently. She would drive over during lunch breaks to bring me handmade lunches. She would wait downstairs at the academic building when I finished class, then naturally take my backpack. Facing those probing and gossiping gazes, she always remained poised, a gentle smile on her face. Her elegance, her composure, her lack of care, that was the most powerful counterattack against those rumors. Gradually, the storm subsided. Those rumors, instead of tearing us apart, acted like a catalyst, making our relationship indestructible and inseparable. One of Elena's cousins, another aunt of Tiffany's, had a birthday. A family gathering was held at a hotel. Elena said this was a good opportunity to formally introduce me to her family. She took me along. I wore the suit she carefully selected for me, standing beside her, feeling a little nervous inside. When we arrived, most of the relatives were already there, including Tiffany. As soon as she saw me appearing on Elena's arm, her face changed instantly. Like grabbing a life-saving straw, she immediately ran to the oldest-looking woman, crying like a pear blossom bathed in rain. "Great aunt, you have to stand up for me." She pointed at us, her voice full of grievance and accusation. This Caleb Miller was two-timing me, dating me while seducing my mom. The accusation dropped like a bomb, sending shockwaves through the room. The entire banquet hall went quiet instantly. The eyes of all the relatives swished to focus on us. Those gazes held shock, disdain, and confusion. Relatives began to whisper, "What is going on? How could Elena get involved with Tiffany's boyfriend? This boy looks decent. How could he do such a thing? Outrageous. Simply a misfortune for the family." Tiffany looked at me triumphantly, her eyes full of the thrill of revenge. She thought that in such a setting, under the moral judgment of all the elders, I would definitely be ruined, and Elena would definitely abandon me for the sake of the family's face. I nervously clenched Elena's hand, my palm full of sweat. But Elena patted the back of my hand, giving me a reassuring look. She waited for everyone to finish expressing their opinions, waited for the atmosphere to ferment to the peak. Only then did she unhurriedly pull me to the center of the banquet hall. She picked up a microphone, cleared her throat, her face still wearing that calm, elegant smile. "Elders, relatives, taking this opportunity today, I formally introduce someone to everyone." She raised our clasped hands, her voice clear and firm. "This is Caleb Miller, currently my partner. We are dating with marriage in mind." The whole room was in an uproar. She ignored it and continued. "As for Tiffany, I think it is necessary for me to clarify. Caleb and her had already broken up long before I intervened." Her gaze turned to the weeping Tiffany, her tone holding a trace of strictness. Tiffany, relationships require mutual consent. Since fate has ended, you should be at peace and learn dignity, instead of causing a scene in front of all the elders like this, losing face for the Vance family. She paused, looking around the room. Her voice raised a few notches. I, Elena Vance, have been single for many years, raising the daughter my sister left behind to adulthood. I asked myself, have I failed anyone? Now, she is grown, and I also have the right to pursue my own happiness. Her gaze finally landed on those few older elders, the corner of her mouth hooking up in a self-mocking smile. Speaking of which, I'm actually getting the short end of the stick, picking up a boyfriend Tiffany didn't want. What? Do the elders want me to spit out what I picked up and get it back to her? This sentence was both witty and sharp. Elena's status in the family was obviously very high. Her words were final. The elders who were indignant just a moment ago immediately shifted their stance. That great aunt walked over, holding Elena's hand, face full of smiles. Elena, what are you saying? We are too happy that you found happiness. This young man looks spirited and talented, truly a match for you. Others also chimed in, starting to congratulate her and praise me. The complaint session Tiffany carefully planned instantly turned into a public execution of her. She became the junior who was ignorant, unreasonable, and criticized by all the elders. Her face turned green, then white, standing in place, humiliated to the extreme. Some elders even went over to persuade her. Tiffany, think about how much your Aunt Elena has sacrificed for you. You can't be so immature. Since you broke up over a tantrum, and she took over, there's no big issue. When it comes down to it, you owe her. Tiffany was completely dumbfounded. The family gathering ended on a sour note for her. On the way home, I drove while Elena sat in the passenger seat, resting with her eyes closed. Battling the crowd in the banquet hall just now must have consumed a lot of her energy. I thought the matter was over. Unexpectedly, as soon as the car drove into the parking lot below the apartment, a dark shadow rushed out violently, blocking the front of our car. It was Tiffany. She seemed to have been waiting for us for a long time. Her hair was messed up by the night wind, eyes red and swollen, looking haggard and crazy. She slapped the car window emotionally, making loud bang-bang noises. Mom, open the door. Open the door. How would you treat me like this? Her voice was hoarse from screaming. He's my boyfriend. I'm your only daughter. How could you unite the whole family against me for a man? She was still playing the mother-daughter bond card. This was her final, and what she considered her most solid, weapon. Elena opened her eyes, a trace of exhaustion and resolve flashing through them. She rolled down the window, her expression more serious than ever before. Tiffany Vance, stop it. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was cold as ice. I told you many times, he is not your boyfriend anymore. And Elena looked at her, saying word by word, there is something, it is time to tell you. I am not your mom. I am your aunt. These few words were like a bolt of lightning, striking viciously on top of Tiffany's head. Her crying came to an abrupt halt. Her whole body stiffened, her face written with absurdity and disbelief. Elena took an old photo that had yellowed from handling and a document in a manila envelope out of her bag. She handed the photo out the window. In the photo were two young women who looked extremely similar, smiling like flowers. One was the young Elena. The other had eyes and brows 7 or 8 parts similar to Tiffany. The one in the photo is your mother, my twin sister. She had a difficult labor when giving birth to you and didn't make it off the operating table. Elena's voice was terribly calm. This document is your birth certificate and my adoption papers. I just raised you in your mother's place. Tiffany's body swayed, as if struck by lightning. She took the photo with trembling hands, muttering, Impossible. You are all lying to me. This is impossible. Elena looked at her distracted state, with no pity in her eyes, only heartache. Tiffany, you don't know how much your aunt envies love at your age. To not talk about money, not care about status, not be burdened by fame and gain, just purely liking someone. That is the most precious thing in life. Yet you destroyed it with your own hands. When you truly leave campus and step into society, you will discover how rare it is to find someone like Caleb, who is willing to put effort into you, asking for nothing in return, treating you with sincerity. By that time, 80% of the men approaching you won't be, because they like you as a person. They will either be after your family background or your face. Finding someone willing to accommodate you and build a life together will be considered lucky. Also, I raised you from childhood. While I won't say the family is incredibly wealthy, you never lack money. Why must you insist on Caleb giving you expensive things? It's the thought that counts. Do you not understand that simple principle? This secret buried for 20 years, like the sharpest sword, completely destroyed Tiffany's last moral high ground and emotional reliance. She didn't even have the standing to accuse Elena of stealing her boyfriend anymore, because Elena never owed her anything. On the contrary, it was she who owed Elena 20 years of upbringing. I don't care. I don't care if you're my aunt or my mom. After a brief daze, Tiffany fell into deeper madness. She began to act shamelessly, trying to use denial to reject this reality she couldn't accept. Anyway, I pretended to break up. We didn't break up successfully. He's still mine. Her logic was chaotic, her words incoherent, like a child obsessed with the wrong answer. Elena and I paid her no more attention. I started the car and slowly drove into the garage. When we got back to the house, she followed like a ghost, ringing the doorbell incessantly. Elena opened the door. Her face no longer held any warmth, only impatience. She mercilessly pushed Tiffany, who was trying to squeeze in, back out. You were spoiled by me into this princess temper since childhood. A breakup is a breakup. There is no pretend breakup. Tiffany, you are an adult. Don't be so childish. Don't bother us anymore. We have our own lives. Elena's words completely shattered her last fantasy. We're going to get our marriage license tomorrow. You'd better hurry up and find someone who treats you sincerely while you're still in college. With that, Elena slammed the door shut with a bang. Outside the door came Tiffany's crazy screams and banging. No, you can't. I don't allow it. Mom, Annie, open the door. Open the door. Her voice was shrill, full of despair. I stood in the entryway, listening to the heart-wrenching crying outside, feeling a bit uneasy. I turned to look at Elena, asking somewhat unbearably, is this too cruel to her? Is it okay? Elena walked over and hugged me tightly from behind. She pressed her face against my back, rubbing her cheek against it. Then, with the tip of her tongue, she gently licked my earlobe. The numbing sensation made my body stiffen. Her tone, however, carried a trace of unquestionable playfulness and firmness. It has to be okay. If she's okay, then we can't be okay. She took my hand and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window in the living room, looking at the city night view outside. Tonight, we celebrate in advance. She took a bottle of red wine and 2 goblets from the wine cabinet. Ignore her. When she's tired of making a scene, she'll leave on her own. The crimson liquid swirled in the glass, reflecting her smiling eyes. The crying outside gradually quieted down, finally returning to silence. I looked at this woman before me who settled everything for me, who protected me under her wings, and my heart was filled with peace and belonging like never before. We raised our glasses, clinking them gently, making a crisp sound. Story complete.